Art isn't what, it's why. And that's why no one really likes art. Why is a question, and we live in a society that trains us to want answers, not questions. I really like both of Todd Phillips' Joker movies, if you can't tell.
I'm a comedian.
I have a bit of an affinity for Arthur Fleck. He's a failed comedian who becomes an influencer when a video of his goes viral, getting way beyond his control. And that's why I'm the Joker, baby. Or at least I'm going to talk about the Joker. In fact, multiple Jokers with multiple fandoms that get mad when you ask why. And because this is the internet, and I gotta say this, or otherwise people get mad at me, there's gonna be spoilers, but there's only like 7 types of stories, so knowing what happens shouldn't matter. Again, art isn't what, it's why. As Captain Jack Sparrow from Pirates of the Caribbean says,
"It's not the destination so much as the journey."
Yeah, it's a Jack Sparrow quote, not like the Dow or Ralph Waldo Emerson. The first Joker was an underdog story. Arthur Fleck was poor, mentally ill, and passed over. The Gotham he calls home is a world of harsh austerity. He straight up just doesn't matter there. And in contemporary Western society, that's life. That's what all the people say. Riding high in April, shot down in May. Shot down indeed. Murray Franklin, some Wall Street dudes, a health insurance CEO. Oh, have I got some crazy shit to say if you stick around. And like, comment, and subscribe. If I don't say that, you won't do it. And I said it, so do. Today, I'm gonna tell you why I think 2 movies that tons of people hate are brilliant works of social observation. Then I'm gonna use them to talk about how murdering people isn't revolutionary, how fandom is the primary contemporary Western social ideology, and how so-called revolutionaries today are the ones most deeply indoctrinated in it. But again, why? Because content. Fancy footwear. Fancy footwear. It's content. What do you want? You see, we aren't taught to process ideas anymore. We're just supposed to consume them. We don't work together anymore. We subscribe. We don't rebel. We block and cancel. We don't feel, we perform. And if we're lucky, we go viral. That's what Joker is about. Joker resonated around the world because Arthur Fleck needed identity, community, and change. And he found something that bore a resemblance to those things, but it wasn't those things. That's what Folie is about, and that's probably why it didn't resonate, because it's asking you a question. Why? And if that's the setup, then is Luigi Mangione the punchline? Or is it how we're living our lives? It's both. And a bunch of other things too. Let's just start it.
That's life. That's what all the people say. You're riding high in April, shot down in May. But I know I'm gonna change that tune when I'm back on top in June. I said that's life. And as funny as it may seem, some people get their kicks stomping on a dream. But I don't let it get me down. Because this fine old world, it keeps spinning around. I've been a puppet, a pauper, a pirate, a poet, a pawn and a king. I've been up and down and over and out, and I know one thing. Each time I find myself lying flat on my face, I been a puppet, a pauper, a pirate, a poet, a pawn and a king. I've been up and down and over and out, and I know one thing. Each time I find myself lying flat on my face, I pick myself up and get back in the race. That's life, and I can't deny it. Many times I thought of cutting out, but my heart won't buy it. But if nothing's shaking come this here July, I'm gonna roll myself up in a big ball and
Joker is a film set in 1981, but Arthur Fleck's transformation into the Joker mirrors a phenomenon familiar to our time. How an individual's actions and persona can, with the right amount of attention, capture the imagination of a heavily fractured society. From the start, Arthur is marked as an outsider. He's socially awkward, he has a mental tic of uncontrollable laughter, he dreams of becoming a stand-up comedian, but he struggles even to just talk to people. He works as a clown, a cheerful facade that contrasts with Gotham's harsh austerity, where a kill or be killed mindset prevails. Sadly, his job performing happiness is as close to the real thing as his daily life provides.
The first actual event of the film is Arthur getting assaulted by some teenage troublemakers. Now, Arthur shows no desire for revenge,
It was just a bunch of kids. I should have left it alone.
but after work, his misanthropic coworker, Randall Kleimenhofer, gives him a gun.
Fucking savages. They're animals. Take it. You gotta protect yourself out there.
Well, gives is maybe not the right word. Randall acts friendly, but really kind of just bullies Arthur, as well as another coworker, a man with dwarfism named Gary Puddles. He also implies that Arthur owes him for the gun.
Not supposed to have a gun.
No one has to know. And you can pay me back some other time.
And Randall seems like that one friend you unequivocally don't want to owe anything because you'll find yourself caught in a GTA-style mission some random weekend.
When the gun falls out of his coat during a children's show, his boss sees him as a liability and fires him. Carrying firearms while performing in front of children was indeed an oversight. Still, it's not exactly irrational that someone who had just been physically assaulted at work might be carrying something for self-defense. Arthur was not a recent hire. He demonstrated proficiency at his job, he could work independently, and maintained relationships with his colleagues. Nevertheless, his employment was terminated immediately following a single instance of poor judgment. Arthur's life mirrors Gotham's decay, the city overwhelmed by garbage due to a sanitation strike and failing infrastructure. He lives with his mother, Penny, who is obsessed with billionaire Thomas Wayne, who she may have known in the distant past but clearly has no access to at this point. She repeatedly writes to him seeking help. Mentally ill Arthur takes care of his clearly more mentally ill mother. To Gotham, these people are invisible, their place in society as precarious as the crumbling city, drowning in its own filth and contradictions.
When Joker was released in 2019, it encountered fierce criticism from the woke left, who claimed the film glorified incel culture, toxic masculinity, and white male rage. They viewed it as a harmful narrative that could inspire disaffected men, especially amid growing fears of mass violence and cultural divisions. We'll talk more about this later, but we're at a point in the narrative that I think just directly contradicts this in every possible way.
Arthur's social worker, a black woman, was criticized by the woke left as little more than an obstacle to Arthur, a negative portrayal of a marginalized individual, bad representation. One article straight up described the black women in this film as unlikable to support this argument.
And true, the social worker wasn't exactly cheerful, but I promise that same critic would claim they sincerely believe Black women shouldn't be expected to show overt warmth in professional settings, particularly when underpaid, overworked, and under-resourced. Decrying the social worker in Joker as bad representation for things like not smiling and acting happy is frankly frivolous and immature. It shouldn't be surprising that right-wingers took pleasure in watching this film, even if only out of spite for this trash posing as coherent thought.
Joker was undoubtedly one of the most authentic, watershed cultural moments of the last 10 years. But how do we know for sure that it was so good? Because all the right people hated it.
Now, if there's one thing the left hates, it's right-wingers. If there's a second thing, it's when qualitative economic class is acknowledged or even hinted at.
Am I saying that in certain contexts, Marx, Engels, and Godwin should be included in lists of more overt white supremacists like Galton? Yes. And I'm not the only one saying it either.
So, it's not surprising that they would criticize this female Black social worker, who is the primary means by which a sense of class consciousness was introduced to the film. Consider who this Black woman is. Someone with a college degree working a so-so job, which was even harder for a Black woman to achieve in 1981 due to societal prejudice and racial disparities. She likely worked very hard her whole life to reach a dead-end job that's becoming increasingly difficult as allotted resources dwindle.
They've cut our funding. We're closing down our offices next week.
She, a Black woman, says something to Arthur, a white man.
They don't give a shit about people like you, Arthur. And they really don't give a shit about people like me either.
To her, Arthur is more like her than different, with similar struggles and the same antagonistic force, those in power.
This type of recognition of sameness rather than difference at least partly explains why Joker resonated so deeply across a genuinely diverse audience when it was released. According to ComScore PostTrack, an industry-standard audience research tool widely used by studios, distributors, and media outlets, 56% of Joker's observed ticket sales were non-white. Hispanics were at 24%, African Americans were at 18%, Asians were at 14%. In the same survey, these groups also enjoyed the film more than white audiences. This markedly undermines the suggestion that Joker is about white grievance. You know, for some reason, those statistics were not part of the Joker discourse. Anyways, forgive my nonlinear storytelling. By the time the social worker points out that they're on the same side of the struggle, it's too late for Arthur to take seriously. He'd already killed 3 people.
We've already discussed Arthur being fired for having a gun. Well, on his way home from that incident, Arthur saw some stereotypical Wall Street bros harassing a woman on the subway. The discomfort of the sight triggered Arthur's tics, leading to uncontrollable laughter and attention he did not want. The Wall Street bros turned to him, taunting and eventually physically assaulting him. Arthur initially defended himself, but they overpowered him, so he pulled out the gun, shot 2 of them dead, and chased the 3rd, killing him too. Now, this shift from defense to offense is key. Arthur's actions started as a response to violence, but quickly turned into something darker.
To Arthur, killing these men was an expression of righteous anger, justifiable anger, built from a life of contradictions that always ended with certain people getting the short end of the stick. People like Arthur and his social worker, again, who was trying to emphasize their similarities. The problem is that Arthur was no longer really interested in those similarities. Killing the Wall Street bros gave him a small taste of winning. I mean, someone needed to win the game instead of these guys who cheated at it. Kill or be killed, right?
The murder of the Wall Street bros becomes a cultural flashpoint in the film's world, sparking public outrage and protests across Gotham. What begins as a personal and spontaneous act grows larger as the media sensationalizes it, turning Arthur's defense-turned-murder into a symbol of resistance against an uncaring system. Masked crowds of people flood the streets, wearing clown makeup as a rallying cry against the city's growing inequality and neglect.
This provides a backdrop for a disastrous stand-up comedy performance by Arthur at a club called Pogo's. In his head, of course, the set is a smash hit. He even imagines like a dream date with a woman from his apartment building afterwards. In reality, nobody laughed, and of course that date did not happen.
What do you think?
After this seemingly eventful night, Arthur's mom reminds him to take out the mail. He snoops and finds it includes a letter to Thomas Wayne claiming Arthur is Wayne's secret son. Shaken, he confronts her, then storms off to Wayne Manor, but is shooed away by Alfred because stranger danger.
Get away from that man.
It's okay, I'm a good guy.
What are you doing? Who are you?
I'm here to see Mr. Wayne.
Well, you shouldn't be speaking to his son.
Returning home, he finds his mom being loaded into an ambulance after having a stroke because she couldn't handle the cops grilling her about the subway clown murders. Remember, Arthur was just fired from a clown job for taking a gun to a kid's party, making him a person of interest. In the hospital waiting room, Arthur watches Murray Franklin air a video of his unsuccessful comedy set, which apparently somebody filmed, and Murray roasts Arthur on live TV. Humiliated, Arthur trudges home to brood while the news blares nonstop about clown violence.
The anger and resentment that's been building in the city for weeks seems close to exploding. Protesters, many dressed as clowns, took to the streets today in one of several planned demonstrations taking on the city's elite, including a massive rally outside tomorrow night's benefit at Wayne Hall.
What's the point of all this?
The rich! Thomas Wayne! That's what this whole thing is about! The whole system!
Gotham's unscrupulous institutions saw an opportunity in the aesthetic of the Clown Rebellion. News stations see ratings surge as they air stories on the killings. Pundits speculate about the identity and motives of the killer, while businesses capitalize on the situation by selling clown masks and memorabilia.
Torches! Get your torches! Pitchforks! You can't be an angry mob without pitchforks!
People often assert these types of events start vital conversations that lead to a broader critique of a system's failures, but Joker depicts what actually happens. Flashpoints like this are instead transformed into a commodified image that entertains rather than enlightens.
This is why Arthur's social worker matters. This is why the film's diverse audience matters. This is why Joker matters. In a distant past, this would be the story of a folk hero and a people's movement. But he's not a folk hero. He's a murderer in clown makeup. And even worse, he's an influencer. And the clown movement is his fandom.
Arthur becomes enthralled with his influence, the effect he's had on others. He inspired the clowns. They enjoyed that he took out his fury on the ruling elite. However, the closest he got to actually interacting with the movement was when he literally walked past it. The media feedback loop recycled Arthur's clown wrath and pumped it back into his own head. Arthur wasn't leading a movement, he was just watching content. Content that informed him of the criteria by which he was accepted and celebrated, using his influence to influence him. The market was cultivating his identity and dictating the incentives he has to follow to win.
Which was the closest thing to community Arthur had ever experienced. He'd never spoken to any of them, though. They were all just people who liked the image of punishing the rich. And while Arthur had indirect, uncontrolled, and spontaneous access to the media as a phenomenon himself, rich people can just go on any podcast they want. I mean, TV, they can go on TV. The movie takes place in 1981. Podcasts don't exist in the time of the film. It's not that deep. If it takes place in the past, it cannot possibly comment on the present. Anyway, Thomas Wayne, the rich guy who Arthur now believed to be his deadbeat dad who abandoned him, did just that. He went on TV and shit on the clowns and what Arthur had done to the Wall Street bros. So the clowns turned their rage towards Thomas Wayne, obviously, and Arthur decided to confront him at a fundraiser in the bathroom while Thomas Wayne was pissing. It did not go well.
Thomas Wayne tells Arthur that his mom adopted him while she was his employee, that she was arrested and committed to Arkham Asylum, and then punches Arthur for the stranger danger from earlier. Turns out Wayne wasn't lying, according to papers at Arkham, and it was actually worse than he said. Turns out there's various types of abuse involved, and Arthur's mom enabled it. Dejected, Arthur goes back home, but not to his own home. Actually, he goes to the apartment of the woman he thinks he's been dating since that comedy performance that he thinks he nailed. She is frightened of him, and rightly so, but she asks him to leave and he does comply.
Several articles, including one published in the New York Times, danced in circles to suggest that Todd Phillips deliberately implies he murdered her because we don't see her again after this, because the film is racist, you see. Once more, it should be understandable why the film sparked partisan resentment. Anyway, the next day, Arthur smothered his mom, who is noticeably not black, to death with a pillow. Stuff is escalating fast.
Amidst all this, Arthur is unexpectedly invited to appear on The Murray Franklin Show after the segment where Murray ridiculed the circulating tape of his failed stand-up routine was highly popular. Up until this point, Arthur's relationship with Murray has been a one-sided fantasy. Murray symbolized the father figure Arthur never had and the public recognition he craves. Throughout the film, Arthur fantasized about being part of Murray's world, but the invitation's motive shattered this. By this point, Arthur recognizes that Murray isn't a mentor or ally, but can't seem to understand why an established media figurehead would exploit someone's misfortune for content beyond the idea that Murray is just a mean person.
When I was a little boy and told people I was going to be a comedian, everyone laughed at me. Well, no one's laughing now.
You can say that again, pal.
Arthur's social workers' haves and have-nots perspective would have painted Murray as a financially entangled person adopting a role, placating the sleeping giant on the other side of the screen. Comedy is always at someone or something's expense, and at a time when everybody's ready to rebel against the haves, Murray's job is to use one of the have-nots to release tension. Arthur accepts the invitation. On the day of the show, his co-workers, Randall and Gary Puddles, show up to give condolences to Arthur about his mother, whom nobody currently knows is a murder victim, and Randall again bullies Gary. Arthur murders the shit out of him and lets a terrified Gary, who was the only person to ever be nice to Arthur, leave.
Na 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 na. Hey, na 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 na. Hey, na na na. Rock and Roll Part 2, Dancing on the Stairs, the culmination of Arthur's transformation into the Joker. It's a big deal, man. By the time he takes the stage at Murray Franklin's show, he's fully embraced a persona. The Joker, baby.
To Arthur, Murray represents the society that's chewed him up and spit him out, pandering to an audience that laughs at others' pain while ignoring their struggles. For Arthur, Murray and his audience are the same thing. Murray doesn't represent institutional power, and the audience doesn't represent a propagandized public. And thus, although Arthur's frustrations are real and the things he says resonate with people, there is nothing Arthur could do here that truly changes anything. Instead, he goes for the ultimate win in the game he's been losing: kill or be killed.
Robert De Niro's talk show character. He's not a movie villain. Doesn't deserve to die. He hasn't, he's just an asshole. And people like asshole comedians. Yet, while the audience in the movie theater is watching the Joker, they want him to kill Robert De Niro. They want him to take that gun and stick it in his eye and blow the back of his fucking head off. And if the Joker didn't kill him, you would be pissed off.
But Arthur's victory is hollow. His monologue, while scathing, railed against the lack of civility and decency rather than any meaningful talk of the structures or institutions that perpetuate Gotham's troubles.
But where does it stop? Who can we shoot? I don't aim to starve to death before I kill the man that's starving me. I don't know, maybe there's nobody to shoot, maybe the thing isn't meant at all, maybe...
Get what you fucking deserve!
When Arthur murders Murray Franklin live on television, he's not a freedom fighter defeating oppression, it's an act of spectacle. Arthur doesn't overthrow the system, he executes the equivalent of Jimmy Kimmel.
I'm like, this is the clip.
The disillusioned public celebrates his actions, but Arthur doesn't have an understanding of what is happening in the world, much less an agenda regarding it. Like him, the clown movement he inspires doesn't meaningfully change anything. Through the magic of TV, that becomes a new definition for revolution. A good punchline, isn't it? This is how Arthur joins society. The Joker is now an influencer, the personification of a commodified lifestyle. He's basically a guru with an NYT best-selling book of shit that you've already heard a million times, but packaged to satisfy a new market of rising discontents. 12 rules for showing schemers how pathetic their attempts to control things really are. During his rant, Arthur told us what kind of story this is. I used to think my life was a tragedy, but now I realize it's a comedy. A tragedy has a sad ending, a comedy has a happy one. Guy kills 6 people is not a happy story, so how is this a comedy?
My life is nothing but a comedy.
Well, the narrative traces a sequence of events that lead to Arthur Fleck's catharsis and validation, a meaningless event that accomplished nothing to consume in place of enacting change. I believe the film's critics overlooked its purpose because it describes our condition rather than prescribes a solution. Because, oh man, this is what condition our condition is in.
Well, they finally did it. They killed my fucking car.
Joker's rise is fueled by a society desperate for something to latch onto. The supposed movement that formed around him, spontaneous, angry, and directionless, mirrors the hollow sense of belonging often found in fandoms and online communities of political influencers. In fact, the way it was discussed was almost entirely within that left-right directions as politics paradigm. It can be easy to simply say the left hated it while the right liked it, but why would the right like a film that ultimately portrays a multiracial underclass rallying against austerity and, at the end of the day, capitalism? Why would the left hate that?
Our world is atomized, separated, competitive, and angry. It doesn't just happen that way, though. People are often sorted into ideological groups that get pit against one another, and various ideological positions contribute to this categorization. The right has always had a place for anger. They know what to do with it. It gets wrapped up in jingoism, religion, or protecting the children. Won't somebody think of the children? And you have people thinking we can just punish our way to a prosperous society. It appeals to traditionalists and thus can appeal to people who have, to put it mildly, less egalitarian beliefs about gender, race, and other identity-oriented factors. While on the other hand, the left likes to cosplay anger at the system. In practice, they regard anger as right-wing coded or white coded or man coded. To them, fighting the right means sticking up for the little guy, and thus anything that might aesthetically resemble the right must be fought. Joker is about an angry white man. This isn't essential to the film's intent, but if you have an agenda based almost entirely on identity, like both the left and right do, it's easy to see what's going on. So to fully understand what happened with these movies, we need to discuss white male rage.
Joaquin Phoenix, skinny, laughs a lot, but still so scary. Dances on steps White male rage, white male rage. Joker. White male rage. White male
To your fear and sorrow, smile. And maybe tomorrow you'll find that life is still worthwhile if you just.
According to Urban Dictionary, white male rage is defined as a specific madness that a pampered white male gets when he's finally denied his desires and is hit by reality, ultimately causing him to react violently, sometimes resulting in domestic terror and mass shootings. Arthur Fleck is absolutely not a pampered individual. He lives in poverty and is very mentally ill. When he killed the 3 Wall Street bros, it was because they were harassing a woman and then physically assaulting him, a mentally ill man who is socially isolated and vulnerable. Now, this doesn't justify up and killing them, but the Wall Street bros embodied the cruelty and entitlement of the esteemed elite, and if anyone's actions could be interpreted as white male rage, it should be theirs.
But for some reason, it wasn't. In fact, if you look at prominent articles, the white male rage frame is applied highly selectively. The ones from the New York Times and Salon don't even mention the Wall Street bros. NYT going as far to proclaim he killed several women of color in the film, which he did not. Another article by the repulsive, detestable Noah Berlatsky. Seriously, people call Mr. Beast evil while people like Noah Berlatsky exist. He mentions them, but simply as jerks. If you're writing about something you're calling white male rage and the 3 white males harassing a woman and assaulting a mentally ill guy is not what you're talking about, there's an obvious problem.
Describing Arthur Fleck as a pampered white male who is finally denied his desires shifts his characterization from poverty to entitlement. While many on the left likely don't realize it, this provides an identity-based justification for the idea that when the poor fight back, it's wrong. While it is true that Arthur's specific actions were not only wrong but also accomplished nothing, his was a mentally ill response to circumstances that shouldn't have existed in the first place from within a system that's telling him the only way to progress is to be ruthless and evil, kill or be killed. That is to say, the problem wasn't simply that he was fighting back, or at least that shouldn't have been the problem. But again, to the left, Arthur Fleck is right-wing coded. He's angry, he's violent, and he's not visibly in a minority group, although how conveniently the left selectively ignores mental illness. On the same token, other films or stories that portray some kind of unifying problem with capitalist society are often labeled similarly as reinforcing toxic masculinity a la 1999's Fight Club or misogynistic a la 2000's American Psycho. Centering identity and individual entitlement simplifies the narrative. Stripping away nuance and material contradictions reduces conflict to a straightforward battle between good and evil, our side and their side, black and white.
Now, it's not necessarily to deliberately obscure systemic critique. This often happens simply to make information more digestible. It does obscure systemic critique, though. And it does so in a cyclical manner. Various aesthetics are presented to us as good or evil, and we either agree or disagree, so we align ourselves with one side, and everything gets filtered through the lens of that fight. You ever wonder why the supposedly capitalism-hating left so vehemently attacks things that are critical of the very system they claim to despise? Well, because they can't even see that part. All they can see is the main character aesthetically resembling who they have deemed their enemy. And as a bunch of main characters themselves, that just isn't tolerable. More on that later.
For them, white male rage becomes a shorthand for wholesale dismissing a story they perceived as valorizing the oppressor's identity, reducing Arthur's actions to unchecked privilege while ignoring the idea that the system that hurt him hurts oppressed identities similarly. This redirects these radicals, supposedly obsessed with systems, into blaming systemic failures on individuals' choices. As a result, they become manipulated into supporting capitalism despite an internally held belief that they are fighting it. For the right, however, white male rage is something to embrace, not necessarily as a slogan, but a reclamation of anger as a justified response to a society they perceive as hostile to their identity and values.
Joker was undoubtedly one of the most authentic watershed cultural moments of the last 10 years.
Both sides, in their fixation on this framing, obscure the observations at the heart of Joker, projecting their ideological grievances onto the film rather than engaging with its narrative.
This shared madness, this folie à deux, positions the Joker as a hollow symbol, reflecting the broader dynamics of what we're going to get into with Joker's sequel. So let's talk about what happens when fans don't get what they want.
Joker's sequel was seen as a big change from the first film. However, when you think about modern American society and its ideologies, I believe it's a natural next step from what happened in the original. A social ideology is the unspoken system that shapes how people understand themselves and others. It offers a sense of meaning, tells you who your community is, signals what behaviors are virtuous or shameful, and defines how and to whom to show loyalty.
I need loyalty. I expect loyalty.
Previously, religion, tradition, and other collective beliefs have provided our social ideologies.
Today, however, the market shows us the way. I mean, you could argue that the belief in the invisible hand is like a religion, but I actually think religion and tradition have been absorbed into a new dominant social ideology, fandom.
As an influencer and commodified symbol of rebellion, the Joker served as a catalyst for rallying support or opposition, providing people with a reference to comment on, express their values, and gather around. Consequently, 2019's Joker leaves us with a question that 2024's Folie à Deux answers. What happens when the collective illusion of identity and community can no longer sustain itself?
Before moving forward, I want to make one thing very clear. The insert whatever community isn't actually a community at all. Whether it's Star Wars fans, vegans, feminists, gender-critical feminists, LGBTQ members, furries, or MAGA supporters, these are not communities, they're fandoms. It's a marketing tactic. That's right. When someone out there tells you they found a great new community, a marketing executive out there somewhere gets its wings.
Fandom thrives on two deep-seated human needs: the desire to understand and express the self, identity, and the need to belong to something larger, community. The first need, the desire to understand and express the self, is addressed through what I term cultivated identity. In the fandom paradigm, identity isn't organically shaped by lived experience or reciprocal social interaction. It's manufactured through market mechanisms. Platforms and rights holders engineer opportunities for fans to signal who or what they are consuming, remixing, or promoting. ensuring that self-expression is routed through commodities. In this sense, the creation of identity becomes indistinguishable from market participation. Liking, sharing, buying, cosplaying, or even remixing are not neutral acts of creativity, but structured behaviors that reinforce ownership and extend the profitability of intellectual property. But even in the pre-digital world, whether ours or Joker's alternate 1981, identity isn't forged through mutual recognition or meaningful participation in society. Instead, it's mediated by one-way cultural flows and commodified narratives. Arthur's sense of self is shaped not by relationships, but by television, celebrity culture, and the social scripts handed down by mass media. He fantasizes about Murray Franklin plucking him out of the audience and declaring him a son. He rehearses comedy by mimicking cadence from TV sets rather than testing it with people. And his ultimate act, the thing that defines him to the world, is killing on live television, a performance whose meaning lies purely in the fact it was broadcast. For Arthur, the very idea of visibility substitutes for value. Consequently, Arthur's transformation into the Joker, a symbol, a figure of influence, and ultimately a brand, is facilitated by these very forces. The second human need, somewhere to belong, is fulfilled through what I call a commodified community. In Joker, Arthur's sense of belonging isn't through genuine relationships, but through the public's consumption of the Joker as a symbol, influencer, and brand. The crowd isn't a community. It doesn't share proximity, difficulties, or undertakings. Instead, it's simply a group that's tied to the consumption of the spectacle of Arthur's actions. For both the public and for Arthur, the Joker represents a figure with an easily understandable worldview that delivers them catharsis and a simulation of camaraderie, offering validation without the work of addressing the underlying issues behind their concerns.
Yet, as Arthur's relationship with his, or rather the Joker's followers demonstrates, Fandom only pacifies these needs in ways that are transactional and ultimately hollow. He didn't find community, he found subscribers. And subscribers, they cancel the second the show stops being about them.
Joker, Folie à Deux, begins with Me in My Shadow, a Looney Tunes-inspired cartoon setting up the Joker as Arthur Fleck's shadow. This is a motif that highlights Arthur's internal conflict, which his lawyer aims to use in her strategy. She hopes that portraying his actions as due to a split personality might save him from the death penalty and secure a place in a legitimate mental hospital instead of Arkham Asylum. As a part of this strategy, Arthur's lawyer arranges for him to see a therapist. However, the therapist doesn't appear to be genuinely interested in helping Arthur heal. Instead, she seems focused on diagnosing him with just the right amount of crazy to get him out of the death penalty.
Arthur's lawyer genuinely seems to think Arthur needs help, but that doesn't stop the strategy itself from looking kind of cynical. It's just too convenient an explanation for what's going on with Arthur, and he doesn't seem to really agree with it, complying, I think, because it gets him cigarettes, which, by the by, is one of the leading causes of erectile dysfunction in young men. Put a pin in that, in the idea, not in that.
Arthur has spent the last 2 years institutionalized at Arkham Asylum, with his daily interactions mainly involving guards, most prominently Jackie Sullivan.
I expect loyalty.
Jackie's relationship with Arthur is complex. Jackie mocks him, but also seeks connection, joking and longing for Arthur's attention. His glances and banter reveal an unresolved tension, and his effort to shield Arthur from harsher treatment suggests a conflicted attachment. This provides Arthur with brief respite, but hints at darker moments ahead.
Let's say Jackie's a fan.
Arthur moves between solitary moments in his cell and exchanges with other inmates and guards. Despite the occasional mocking and abuse, Arthur remains a model inmate. A younger inmate named Ricky Malign emerges as one of his most fervent admirers. For an example of the dynamic going on here, Jackie encourages Ricky to ask Arthur for a kiss, and Arthur obliges, likely to maintain good standing.
Ricky's also a fan.
Arthur's fleeting transactional interactions position him more as a curiosity than a person. But his life shifts when he meets Harleen Lee Quinzel, played by Lady Gaga, a fellow inmate who claims she set her parents' apartment on fire, inspired by Arthur's live murder of Murray Franklin, which made her feel less alone.
Yeah, Lee is also a fan. Joker's biggest fan, in fact. You see, Arthur is absolutely surrounded by Joker's fans.
While Lee's feelings for Arthur are genuine in their intensity, they are about the Joker, a commodified image of his most extreme deeds. She doesn't truly know Arthur, she knows the Joker. To Lee, the Joker embodies rebellion against a harsh and dismissive world, serving as a symbol that fills a void in her life. Her admiration is passionate, yet ultimately based on fantasy. Arthur doesn't realize it, but his connection to Lee is also superficial. His feelings are also influenced by her admiration for the Joker.
For once in my life, I got someone. For once in my life.
Which validates his persona and fulfills his need for connection, but he knows little about her beyond what she tells him, much of which is untrue. Their bond is emotional, yes, but based on mutual projections rather than genuine understanding. They're focused on who they want each other to be, not who they are.
You'll notice she never calls him Arthur in the movie. She always refers to him as Joker. She's in love with Joker.
Co-writer and director Todd Phillips has said the title Joker Folie Deux represents the mutual madness of Arthur and Lee.
One of the things about the title Folie Deux, it means sort of shared delusion or shared madness.
Their bond is based on fantasy rather than a real connection. They can see each other, but they don't see each other. An honest conversation might have shattered both of their illusions, possibly for the better, but instead, they support each other's slide into delusion.
You perfect.
I want to see the real you.
Remember, though, their folie is not merely a deux. It's a madness of the many. And every one of those rioting clowns was just a right-wing, straight, white male.
Anyways, Arthur and Lee act out, and he gets locked up in solitary. Somehow, though, Lee is allowed in for a visit. I find it suspicious as all hell. So this free bit is either essaying a bunch of D or has the money to bribe people with.
I think if somebody who's attuned would realize there's something a little off about this girl, and maybe her story doesn't totally make sense. I mean, why did they let her into this isolation cell where Arthur is?
So Lee encourages Arthur to stop taking his medication, claiming it suppresses his true self. Arthur says he already has stopped. She then puts makeup on him and they bang.
I want to see the real you.
The makeup, it really gets the fans going. Foreshadowing. Now the banging is weak as hell. Remember this cigarette thing. Keep the pen in it.
Outside, all anyone truly knows of Arthur is what the TV dramatization of his story showed them, that he dressed as a clown to kill people and rant on TV. The clown movement that sprung up around him wasn't organized, it was spontaneous. As such, their focus was not on potentially fixing society, but on Joker as a consumable image that gave them validation and catharsis. This dynamic comes into sharp focus during Arthur's trial, the centerpiece of Folie Deux. District Attorney Harvey Dent seeks the death penalty, painting Arthur as a calculating murderer, sharply contrasting with Arthur's lawyer's narrative about split personalities.
So Harvey Dent's narrative is the one that people have liked, commented, and subscribed to the Joker for, while Arthur's lawyer strategy addresses Joker in the way the clown fandom, including Lee, interprets as demeaning. Do you remember how a segment of the Star Wars fandom was mad at the character assassination of Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi? That's basically how Joker's fans take Arthur's lawyer's defense. She's trying to humanize him and get people to care about his struggle so he doesn't get the death penalty, but they know how their Joker would act, and it's not like that.
Now, Lee is part of that fandom, and at this point, she is actively hostile to the lawyer and her strategy, not only in conversation with Arthur, but also in the press, which she seems to particularly enjoy addressing.
You know, you're making him out to be a fucking idiot in there. He's never gonna get out if you keep this shit up.
Let's not do this here, please. Do you see all those people out front? Who do you think they're here for? How many t-shirts has Arthur Fleck on? Can't you see how sick he is?
He's not sick.
He's perfect. You don't really think he's just gonna walk out of here, do you?
Yeah, he's gonna walk right out of here. With me by his side.
And then we're gonna build a mountain.
Because she's a professional who is attempting to accomplish something and Lee keeps getting in the way of that thing, Arthur's lawyer looks into her background and discovers her story is fake.
But she didn't grow up in your neighborhood. She lives on the Upper West Side with her parents. Her father is not dead. He's a doctor. I know what it's like to love somebody, but I don't think you can believe a word she says.
Also, it implies she bribed the guards to let her go into Arthur's cell and bang, which is important to the next thing. Lee visits Arthur at Arkham, so he confronts her. But despite the lies, Italian ex-icon Harleen Gaga's muffin still maintains influence over him, and so she commences the bluffing. She claims that she's pregnant, and he can't read her poker face. She's got him like nobody. So he's effectively gaslit, and the toxic relationship cycle continues. You might say they're caught in a bad romance.
Speaking of ladies, Harvey Dent calls the lady from the first movie, who is alive and not dead, onto the stand, once again revealing that the New York Times is willing to just publish whatever. She nervously recounts her interactions with Arthur, particularly the night he entered her apartment uninvited. She describes him as awkward and troubled, noting how his mother mocked his laugh, dismissed his ambitions, and called him dumb. Her testimony portrays him as pitiful, quite unlike the hero his followers admire.
He had never had a girlfriend, and she thought he was probably a virgin.
Harvey Dent leverages her testimony to portray Arthur as a delusional and unstable individual who was now backed by a growing number of followers, likely enough to attract brand deals to his inevitable podcast. And we can't have that. We can't have that.
Arthur's lawyer's cross-examination aims to humanize him by highlighting his isolation and questioning whether the TV Joker, with the makeup and fury, is the same awkward man from her apartment. She suggests his split identity as an illness. While it does soften his image, this clashes with Arthur's Joker persona, an act of defiance that gained acceptance by doing the unacceptable. Each retelling of his humiliations threatens his Joker identity, tainted by a narrative that portrays him as a pathetic, broken man. For Arthur, looking like a loser risks losing the persona that gave him catharsis and even popularity. As pressure builds, Arthur interrupts his lawyer's cross-examination to fire her. The courtroom erupts into murmurs as Arthur announces he will represent himself. The move is partly a rejection of the lawyer's strategy and partly an act of theatrical rebellion, going full Joker, a gesture for the fans.
And the crowd goes wild. His fans, sitting in on the trial, stand up and applaud. But of more importance to Arthur, Lee races to see him, her pants thoroughly waterlogged.
You should see it out there. They're all going crazy for you.
Back at Arkham, the inmates celebrate, become unruly, cheering, singing, and causing disorder as the guards lose control.
Sit down, Arthur.
Oh, when the saints
Sit the fuck down, Ricky.
go marching in.
Ricky.
Oh, when the saints go marching in.
Ricky, sit the fuck down.
Lord, I want to be in that.
Give me the hat.
When the saints.
Get the fuck down when I tell you.
Oh, when the saints go marching in. And when the saints go marching in.
But the whole thing was about to hit a big obstacle. A little man.
The state calls Gary Puddles.
If you remember, Gary Puddles witnessed Arthur kill Randall Kleimenhofer. Gary, visibly uncomfortable, takes his seat and swears in. His testimony is concise and damning. Arthur stabbed Randall, then bashed his head into the wall repeatedly. That's all Dent needs. Arthur rises for his cross-examination, slipping into an exaggerated foghorn leghorn-like Southern lawyer stereotype.
And I do enjoy it. I don't think it's just foghorn leghorn. No, I think it's a possible reference to Matlock. But the thing about that is this movie takes place in 1983, and that show wasn't on until 1986. I still think it was that. And I think Todd Phillips most likely made the correct calculation that it doesn't fucking matter because it's funny.
Gary Puddles? Tell me, sir, is that your God-given name?
Yes.
Really? Why, it sounds like a joke.
Well, it's not.
You expect us to believe that your last name is Puddles? Puddles?
It becomes immediately clear that Arthur is entirely disengaged from the legal proceedings. The courtroom isn't a place of justice in his eyes, it is a stage. What matters to him is performing for his fans, out there watching the trial on TV, gathering around and inside the courthouse, and specifically Lee, sitting behind him, soaking through to the bench.
Earlier this afternoon, you testified that you saw me stab Mr. Kleimenhofer in the neck a couple of times, correct?
Kleimenhofer. Yes.
Yes, but Randall was a bit of a bully, wasn't he?
He didn't deserve to die.
He asks Gary about what he saw that day other than the murder. Gary doesn't follow, but what Arthur really wants is to know if Gary saw him on TV.
Did you catch my act on the Murray Franklin show later that night?
No, I didn't.
You didn't see the show. You didn't see anything I had to say. I can't believe it.
Arthur takes that like a teenager upset somebody they wanted to impress, missed their big moment. His ego is hurt, so he decides to jokerly tell everyone how jokery of a joker he really is.
Did I seem like a different person? Or was I the same old joker that I always been?
Arthur, don't do this to yourself. It isn't you.
It isn't me. So you don't think this is me? Well, maybe you don't know who I really was.
Look, I never saw that side
Well,
of
maybe you weren't looking. Maybe no one was. Because nobody knew I existed. But look around, look at all these people. Everyone outside, these cameras. Who do you think they see, Mr. Puddles?
Joker.
Oh, sweet child. What you are proving here today is that you are no different than any of those people that underestimated me. From Murray Franklin to those goddamn fat, stupid guards at Arkham that think that they can treat me like trash. But I will no longer allow you or any of you to keep me down. I am free.
Phew! Breathe a sigh of relief, Arthur, because the Joker has regained control. Nice. I mean, that got people to clap.
Please clap.
Other than Jackie, all your fans loved it. Smooth sailing from here on out, all right?
Why are you doing this to me, Arthur?
What? Gary, I like you.
I told you I wouldn't hurt you, and I didn't.
Not hurt me. I couldn't go back to work. I still can't sleep, and I'm scared all the time. I never used to be scared. I'm scared right now here, with you in front of me. I couldn't do anything that day. I felt so small. I was reminded how powerless I really am.
No more questions, Johanna.
Do you know what that feels like, Arthur? You were the only one at work who never made fun of me. You were the only one who was nice to me.
I said no more questions, Johanna.
Oh.
The state rests.
Arthur also rests without presenting a defense. This isn't about defending himself anyway, he's having a showcase. Afterward, he's taken back to Arkham for the night and, what's a delicate way to put this? Jackie takes out his anger on Arthur by raping the Joker out of him. Or at least that's how a bunch of people on Twitter put it.
In truth, I don't think it's the rape that breaks him. Yes, it's the most viscerally horrifying moment, but the emotional collapse begins before and continues after.
I couldn't do anything that day.
The initial shock hits with Gary's words. Arthur clings to his identity, believing he's revered and represents Gotham's righteous anger against corruption. But Gary offers a different view.
I felt so small. I was reminded how powerless I really am.
For most, violence isn't a welcome revolution, but something to fear. He sees Joker not as liberation, but as the devastation of what little safety and comfort the people of Gotham have. This gets driven home when the prison guards kill Ricky for being insolent. It's a direct result of Arthur's influence, and that's what finally cracks him. Not the sexual violence inflicted on him, but the violence he inspired. Fans of the first movie were pretty mad they dare show a violent crime happening to a violent criminal.
If what they did to Luke Skywalker was character assassination, what they did to the Joker was a humiliation ritual. This film is about the reaction people were going to have to this film.
Joker 2 is punishment for anybody that liked Joker 1.
I got the sneaking suspicion that we're not giving the people what they want.
The first Joker was beloved by many people. It had a lot of fans, and it seems like it just turned its back on him and went, we hate you.
Anyone that supported it, that went and spent your money to go watch this film, you were the wrong type of person.
What happened?
Well, you weren't even looking at me anymore.
We, the audience, are the butt of the joke.
Like, let's strip all dignity from this character. Let's strip anything that you did connect with from this character.
The song is about loving me.
There's a lot of things in this movie that just make it really unsatisfying to me.
Let's give the people what they want.
Hollywood has decided, since the wrong type of people really loved Joker, now we have to make a Joker Part 2 to destroy Joker 1.
This makes more sense when you understand that this sequel wasn't meant to do well at the box office. It was intended to be a humiliation ritual to destroy the movie's legacy as punishment for it resonating with the wrong people.
It's the sequel to your favorite franchise, and you watch because you think you'll like it. Your favorite cast are back together, but you start to say bad weather. They've done it again. They've ruined all my favorite movies. My faves did not consent, and that's really what this is about. They raped my childhood. Fandom, and I can't fucking believe it, but they actually fucking raped the Joker. They've done it again. Fuck. They've ruined all my favorite movies. Goddamn, my faves did not consent. Which is rape. Yeah, that's really what this is about. They raped my childhood. They raped my memories. They raped the Joker. They were raping me. And Luke Skywalker, he is so much more optimistic and happier, despite the fact fascism came back and the Joker had gone a fucking awesome rampage. He would take responsibility. Member berries.
Remember Chewbacca?
They've done it again. They've ruined all of my favorite movies. And none of the characters in any of those movies consented. And neither did I. And that's really what this is about. I'm a rape victim. They raped my freaking childhood, man. They raped my freaking childhood. They raped my memories. They raped my Skywalker. They raped my Joker. But really what happened here, they raped me. I've been raped. I'm comfortable calling it that. I'm comfortable calling it rape. This is rape. They're raping me.
Todd Phillips, co-writer and director of both films, had to have known that a challenge to the Joker as a concept would feel to some fans like a challenge to their identity. The sense that a critique of the Joker is automatically a critique of them isn't accidental on the part of establishments, and that's the thread we'll pull on in part 3. But Joker 2 isn't about humiliating the character or hating the people that liked the first film. It's just showing us the world that we live in, just like the first one. The right-wingers mad about the second Joker are mad for the same reason leftists were mad about the first. Both Joker films depict the conditions of an ideological pseudo-society, a place where identity and belonging aren't built through solidarity, but through spectacle. Whether Phillips set out with that critique in mind or simply portrayed it faithfully, the result is the same. These movies are sharp critiques of the influencer and the fandom, the avatars that keep us fixated on each other instead of on the people who actually hold power.
So, when Arthur would otherwise make his closing arguments to the jury, he's just done.
I wanted to come out here as Joker. And I was gonna go on an angry rant. But it wouldn't matter because I can't do this anymore. Because I can't be who you want me to be.
Instead of making some defiant speech, farting in the court's general direction, he confesses and expresses regret. This totally dismantles the fragile foundation of his followers' devotion.
Oh, shit.
Lee is devastated by Arthur's renunciation of the Joker persona. Her pants suddenly an arid desert, completely devoid of moisture. She walks out of the courtroom alongside other disillusioned followers. During a court recess, Arthur calls her and leaves the saddest voicemail of all time. And judging from her near suicide and reaction, this didn't encourage soggy garments.
Back in court, Arthur gets a guilty verdict, which, I mean, doy! He undeniably is a product of neglect, mental illness, and a system that has screwed him over at every point, but he murdered 6 people. That is not an appropriate response to that world and what it did to him, and it certainly doesn't change anything. My sympathy for Arthur ends there. None of those people deserve to die. Some of those people were absolutely awful, sure, but even the worst didn't warrant that. The Wall Street guys were harassing a woman and a visibly ill man. Arthur's mom was dangerously mentally ill. Randall was a bully, and Murray laughed at a viral clip. Every one of them could have been addressed in other ways, and violence didn't make anything better.
A bomb explodes outside the courthouse, destroying the wall facing the street. In a stupor, Arthur wanders outside. A Joker fan notices him and escorts him to a car, and they make off with the Joker, baby. Insane oneer. Seriously, even if you think you'll hate this movie, you should watch it for Lawrence Sherr's cinematography. He's incredible at his job and often appears on podcasts sharing valuable insights for filmmakers. It's insane that 1917 beat him at the Oscars for Joker, and if we lived in a just world, Folie would be nominated at the next awards, even if just for cinematography, given the movie's release date. Anyway, the oneer could have been Joker's epic getaway to become the crime lord fans wanted, but he separates from the group when the car gets stuck. His real goal is finding Lee, whom he finds at the Joker stairs. Instead of shooting herself, she had cut her hair and is still in Joker makeup, looking honestly fairly pathetic.
All we had was the fantasy, and you gave up. We were never going anywhere.
This is why I mentioned that smoking is a leading cause of erectile dysfunction. Joker was the parts of Arthur that Lee wanted, but with plain old Arthur, the main thing she could expect in their life together was premature ejaculation.
There is no Joker. It's just me.
Which doesn't exactly sound massively appealing. So instead of engaging with him, she sings That's Entertainment, which causes Arthur to say what all the musical haters have been thinking for the whole movie.
A song that is swinging along.
Just talk to me.
Or a dance with a touch of
Just
romance.
Stop singing.
You believe.
Back at Arkham, and presumably after some time has passed, Arthur is informed that he has a visitor. That may or may not have been, though. It may have been orchestrated by the guards to punish Arthur because, on the way, he's left alone and stabbed by a Joker fan inmate, which, as you should know by now...
How about I get you what you fucking deserve?
As Arthur bleeds out, the inmate carves a smile into his own face, implying he goes on to be another Joker baby, perpetuating the cycle. The Joker persona and the systemic failures that created it lives on.
And the Joker goes on it, on it, on it, on it, on it, on it.
And just like the first one, wow, did this movie draw animosity. But where the first movie got the left all pissy because identity, the second movie got the right all pissy because, well, identity. Both the woke left and the anti-woke right's responses to these films embody what I critique as fandom. These reactions aren't grounded in genuine engagement with the film's ideas, but are ideological projections onto the Joker.
For the woke left, Joker was incorrectly a symbol of unchecked privilege and rage to be condemned. For the anti-woke right, Joker was incorrectly a rallying cry against wokeness. Then, Joker, Folie Deux dismantled their narrative, which made them incorrectly mad about it being woke.
What's outstanding to me in this discourse in this movie is how easily the far left can sound like the far right when it suits their agenda. It's really been eye-opening for me.
These responses reflect the mechanisms of cultivated identity and commodified community. Aligning with or rejecting the Joker becomes a performance of self and a signal of belonging within one's ideological group. Joker critiques the conditions that foster discontent and rebellion. Folie Deux examines what happens when the imitations of identity and community fostered to paper over those conditions can no longer sustain those trapped within them.
Many people watching right now will never own a home. And statistically, if you rent, a coin toss can accurately reflect whether you can pay your rent this month. Yes, 50% of renters in the United States can't afford rent. A persistent burden of debt looms over almost everyone, whether from school, medical emergencies, or an overzealous authority figure who screws you over. Owned by the ruling class, the media fuels fandom wars, diverting attention from the real issue, capital, imperial, financial, monopoly, capital. However, even when we acknowledge this, we're often distracted into focusing on punishing some individual person instead of understanding how to transform class relations. How about a joke? What do you get when you cross a few generations of people with a society of soul-sucking jobs that can't pay for groceries, bills, and rent, where if you get sick, you can't pay for it, and no matter what, you're treated like trash? What you fucking deserve.
On December 4th, 2024, United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson was shot and killed in Midtown Manhattan. Within a week, the suspect was in custody, a 26-year-old software engineer with no criminal record, no known affiliations, and a notebook full of grievances about the U.S. healthcare system. His name was Luigi Mangione.
Mangione's alleged actions have had a surprising result. People are so angry at America's healthcare system that they're treating him like a folk hero.
It used to be that whoever had power imposed a singular reality. Kings, dynasties, organized religions, intelligence agencies, vertically integrated monopolies. And this continued all the way up through the television age. But then media became social and everything changed. Now, instead of one story from the top, the public is offered a menu of custom realities built from aftermarket parts, hashtags, headlines, memes, and vibes. It feels like agency, but when you order a custom cheeseburger at a restaurant, do you choose the chef? Do you choose where they source the ingredients from? Do you even know anything about the supply chain? Does the Pope shit in the woods?
Major outlets churned out op-eds and explainers. Podcasts scrambled to get episodes out.
My first response is, fuck yeah, dude. Like, let's go.
Twitter weirdos dug up years-old Reddit posts from an account possibly tied to Mangione. TikTokers speculated about his favorite bands. Media ecosystems were built around Luigi. But there was no coordinated line because there is no need for one anymore. In fact, these ecosystems require oppositional narratives. Engagement is what drives the attention economy, and the easiest version of that is conflict.
I don't know. I mean, the guy has already become kind of a folk hero.
I don't know if he's become a folk hero, right? He's a violent criminal.
Fandom is the perfect conflict machine.
He's just a violent criminal who did a violent thing. He's a thug.
We are not searching for a reason to make him a folk hero.
Thank you.
The left is searching for a reason to make him a folk hero.
It doesn't just split people into teams, groups, factions, tribes, parties, or whatever term you prefer.
Red pill, blue pill, Morpheus, Warrison.
It also rewards participation, performance, and one-upmanship.
Hey OC has great fun bags, but got fat, so it doesn't really matter anymore. So now Beaufort is my big titty queen.
Life turns into a consumptive sport. Competing groups stake their worth on loyalty and correctness, while individuals within those groups fight to be the loudest, the purest, and the most correct. To be a good fan is to engage constantly. Watch the content, repost the memes, defend the canon, whatever that currently is.
Right, so I love the movie, but actually the ship in the third act isn't a Corvette. It's classified as a light frigate by the studio's own guidebook. Just wanted to clear that up.
The Mangione case was immediately the subject of fandom, spawning several factions. The main Luigi fandom cast him as a revolutionary and a righteous avenger, the first to finally strike back at the corporate murder machine.
Oh my God, right? Like, here's this man who's revolutionary, who's famous, who's handsome, who's young, who's smart. He's a person that seems this morally good man, which is hard to find.
Yeah, I just realized women will literally date an assassin before they swipe right on me. That's where we're at.
The anti-fandom cast him as a dangerous Marxist, aligning itself with the rule of law, preaching respectability.
Directing hatred against Brian Thompson is not about shaping public policy, because you could shoot every CEO in America and it wouldn't shape public policy. It turns out that it's about trying to threaten anyone who engages in free markets at all. This is simply Marxist, leftist, radical evil.
More importantly, whatever direction it was coming from, left or right, it pointed away from the structure that made such violence conceivable in the first place.
Does any of this sound familiar?
A loner pushed to the margins breaks the system, kills a symbol of power, becomes a symbol himself.
Familiar.
People focused on whether he was a villain or a hero rather than the conditions that shaped him. One side, the left, hated when it was Joker. Too sympathetic to straight white cis men who are bad. Those guys they're just entitled. You know, there's no male loneliness epidemic, and if there is one, men deserve it anyway. And the right?
Joker was undoubtedly one of the most authentic, watershed cultural moments of the last 10 years.
They absolutely loved it when Joker shot Murray Franklin, a talk show host, but a health insurance executive? The head of an uncontroversially hated enterprise? Well, the roles reversed. The left rallied to Luigi, a cishet white male, portraying him as a revolutionary, while the right called him a terrorist and a Marxist, citing left-wing mental illness. What changed? Well, Luigi, unlike Joker, self-identifies as anti-capitalist.
One's self-perception and one's real connection with the world are often not the same thing. Both the right and the left, for all their posturing, are functionally consumer advocacy movements. They believe that if they express their feelings loudly enough, the market will eventually give them what they want. They may not consciously think they are following the logic of demand it and it will be supplied, but that's exactly what's happening here. The right is generally fine with this arrangement. They're used to treating everything, including politics, like a shopping mall. Buy the merch, follow the influencers. When the right is angry, it's at who is running things, but they don't really question how things run.
Well, shoot.
The left, however, tells itself it's different. So different. The left hates capitalism, you see. Leftists say it all the time. They even think it. They feel it. But instead of engaging in any meaningful resistance, the left mainly demands that capitalism, or just random individuals, behave more better. More ethical CEOs, more representation, kinder branding. It still sees the market as a customer service department, but instead of being Karens about law and order, they're Karens about social justice. With that in mind, the Mangione discourse has spent no meaningful amount of time or effort on healthcare. Rallying around a cause is old hat, you see. Now we rally around a narrative and our place in that narrative. They weren't asking, what does this mean for healthcare? They were asking, what does this say about me?
I need to tell my story.
They call it main character syndrome. It's been around since the 1990s. Originally, it meant plot armor, describing characters who couldn't be harmed because they were too central to the story. But by 2009, it shifted to refer to a character that seemed destined to be the focus of attention. In recent years, main character syndrome, or as we'll call it from now on, MCS, has come to refer to the mindset in which people view themselves as the main character in a story.
I need to tell my story.
This viewpoint acts as a psychological foundation for fandom-related ideology, potentially replacing more conventional forms of identity and community. A lot of people think it's simply narcissism, but narcissism is a clinical diagnosis. What people refer to as main character syndrome stems from the way modern marketing influences our self-perception. Main character syndrome isn't pathology. It's the subjectivity that grows from a world where everyone's trying to sell you something.
In this video, I'm going to show you how to use one of the most powerful marketing strategies of all time, storytelling, in order to help you get more customers, make more sales, and grow your business. And a methodology for you to use in order to create highly effective and incredibly engaging stories that will allow you to sell with ease.
I need to tell my story.
Instead of perceiving life as a shared human experience, people in a consumer society seek a relatable narrative to direct and justify their decisions, because the only person they relate to fully is themselves. And because they know the effects of their actions primarily as a consumer, their story becomes the story, and they assume everyone else is just living in it. And like the well-crafted script of a movie or a novel or whatever, all elements, people, places, things, ideas are valued solely to the extent that they contribute to progressing the narrative.
The story!
It's tempting to interpret the situation as one where people see Luigi Mangione as an avatar or a self-insert, even an aspirational fantasy. However, Luigi isn't the type of main character we're talking about here. Everyone is their own main character in their own story, so people perceive Luigi as a narrative device, not as a self-insert. They don't want to be him. They want their opinion about him to say something about them. Just like siding with or against the Joker, a person's opinion of Luigi is a character trait.
In a national context, Luigi Mangione, like Arthur Fleck, isn't seen as a person, but as an image on a screen, and an opportunity to comment on something that is supposedly important. Luigi, the Joker, and every other person, place, or thing helps frame a person's character development. Luigi's whole function, in a media sense, is to prompt people's very important reactions, which is why, if anyone dared question whether Luigi Mangione's alleged actions actually helped anyone, the answer was, well, at least he started an important conversation about healthcare.
The conversation about healthcare in America has been ongoing for decades. Whatever your opinion on Michael Moore, his 2007 film Sicko exposed the industry's cruelty with visceral clarity, and that was hardly the first time someone had called private for-profit health insurance bad. It can be argued that his film greatly influenced the national conversation, leading Barack Obama to campaign on a single-payer system in 2008.
I happen to be a proponent of a single-payer universal health care plan.
Yet, when he won and presided over a Democratic supermajority, he enacted a Republican health plan that preserved the for-profit health insurance model.
You've got to take a responsibility to get health insurance. We're not going to have other people carrying your burdens for you.
Oh, people have talked about this. Even just months before Mangione allegedly pulled the trigger, South Park aired an entire one-hour special highlighting the appalling state of the healthcare system, particularly for-profit private insurance.
Hello. Luigi Mangione didn't spark a movement or start a conversation. People are always talking about how bad American healthcare is because people deal with the broken American healthcare system every single day. So what did Luigi's alleged actions actually do?
Most wouldn't say this, but Mangione distracted people in a way where they didn't feel they were being distracted because they weren't asked to change the subject. On top of that, his actions became another way for people to feel important, to be a protagonist, and to have an antagonist to fight with, those damn people who think something else about Luigi. The whole thing is just another way to shift the healthcare question from what can we do about this to how does this make me feel? The murder of Brian Thompson didn't change a damn thing about healthcare. What it did was provide a jumping off point to reinforce the fantasy that feeling something or reacting publicly to something does something.
By defending or condemning Luigi, people insert themselves into the story. He was the narrative catalyst, but everyone else was the main character. Ultimately, these conversations are about what your take says about you. Throughout the many years that the screens have existed, dissidents have told us that the revolution will not be broadcast. And yet, somehow, everyone seems to think they're taking part in a revolution on their screens.
For this reason, the system doesn't fear rebellion anymore. It depends on it. Rebellion is content. Content is business, and business is booming. Every hot take, every reaction video, every viral clip of someone screaming, "Wake up!" all of it gets monetized and looped back into the feed. Outrage fuels engagement. Engagement becomes data. Data feeds algorithms. Algorithms drive profit. Those think pieces, counterposts, callouts, and memes are more logs in the furnace. It doesn't matter what side you're on. The only thing that matters is that you pick one, and that you never shut up about it. It's neither identifiably censorship nor repression. It's incorporation.
You seem to think that our plan is one of censorship.
Are you telling me it's not?
You're being silly. What we propose to do is not to control content, but to create context.
Create context?
On April 5th, 2025, Luigi Mangione stood in federal court and pled not guilty to charges related to the killing of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Whatever you think of him, whatever memes or merch or hot takes you've seen online, that's where the case actually stands. He has not been convicted. He hasn't even gone to trial. And yet, the discourse already treats him like he did it. Left, right, everyone in between seems to have slotted him into their storylines. He definitely did it and is a hero, villain, martyr, or terrorist due to it. But the principle we're supposed to be operating on, innocent until proven guilty, has no traction at all in the media. At this point, I want to ask Todd Phillips what he thinks the winning lotto numbers are going to be.
The winning lottery numbers? Why, that's simple, Peter. They are 3, 7, 47, 67, 68, and 2. Have a great day.
Some charges, specifically the federal terrorism counts, were dismissed in September 2025, but that didn't slow anything down. A folk hero isn't a person, it's a finished story that's told repeatedly. It's history. It's the past crystallized in amber. Before mass media, a folk hero took time to happen. People had to care enough to repeat an account of the events. The song had to be catchy and interesting for the bard to want to sing it. But now, with the internet, a story can be told 1,000,000 times without anyone saying a word.
Viral. It means it spreads fast online.
An algorithm, some bot engagement, or a boost button and $100 can make any information into established fact within a few hours. For example, a year ago, no one said crash out to refer to someone experiencing a crisis, and yet one day, literally overnight, it became the standard term for that. Similarly, Luigi is more than a character. Luigi is a verb. You know what that tweet means when they post a picture of Luigi over somebody. You know what Bill Burr means when he says someone got Luigi'd.
I love how they acted surprised. Why did that happen? I have no idea. He wrote on the bullets why it happened.
Oh, we're back to Luigi. Okay, yeah.
I never left Luigi.
In Joker's 1981 equivalent, Arthur Fleck becomes a folk hero to Gotham in an instant with a live TV appearance. Not because anyone really knows him, but because his image serves a function as a symbol. Luigi is exactly the same.
But in a consumer society, symbols are just another thing to consume. In the first Joker, Arthur puts on some face paint, kills 6 people, and Gotham gets clown fever. But it's not about changing society. It's about Joker being Joker. Fandom. In the sequel, that fandom turns on him the second he stops giving them what they wanted. Same deal here. The symbol doesn't fix anything. It just entertains. Joker, Luigi Mangione, Donald Trump, AOC, it doesn't matter. We see them and we say, society needs to change. We whip out our timelines, we pump those posts and work that engagement up and down, get that burst of catharsis all over our tummy. Then we wipe it up, move on, and nothing actually changes. We're content with the content.
It's easy to go on a rant about how it used to be called art. We used to create culture. Now we manufacture content.
If one thing is content, it all is. This is like saying a novel is the same thing as a phone call. Yes, they are both on their most basic levels some form of communication, but they are not the same medium, and we should not treat them the same way.
The problem isn't that people call art content. The word content literally means art, information, or other expression and communication considered as substance rather than form. The problem is that, in the context of capitalism, art is a commodity, a product that exists specifically to be sold. An individual artist might not think of their work that way, but in a societal context, that is art's primary purpose.
In a consumer society, art is the same thing as a bag of Doritos. You eat it and you feel satisfied because Doritos are fucking incredible, and then it's gone. It was produced for people to buy, and you either eat them or you don't. And outside of your health, it doesn't matter. The focus on the word content implies that the issue isn't that art is produced for market exchange, but rather that we no longer have the same respect for art that we once did, which is not the actual problem.
Let's say you hate the content I make. There are several ways you could say that with different terms that are way more accurate than content. You could say, Patrick, your videos suck. Patrick, your show sucks. Patrick, your channel sucks. Patrick, your work sucks. These are all referring to the same thing, so why would you say content?
This is part of why certain people liked or disliked one or both Joker movies. In a consumer society, we're taught to take art as a commodity, as something intended to satisfy the customer. To consider the first Joker film as merely an attempt to satisfy a customer, there is a lot that needs to be overlooked. But this is why the left saw it as an expression of white male rage. They asked, what demand is this movie attempting to supply? The left views films as symbolic representation flavored Doritos, and in their eyes, Joker was the white male version of those shitty black girl magic movies.
And to be fair, so did the right. The right-wing people actually did take it as a white male magic movie. God, that formula is just the worst, no matter who you plug into it.
The sequel's main aim is to challenge this cluster of ideas. Joker Folie Deux demonstrates that widely propagated images of an individual's spontaneous angry actions don't advance society or resolve problems. People like Luigi for the same reason they liked the first Joker, although it's not the same group of people. But the fact that the left-wing demographic who hated Joker are the ones who love Luigi, ooh, it is rich. And the right-wing people who hate Joker too, the anti-woke, Joker was about my personal rage at being ignored as a fair-skinned cis man, the white male magic people, yeah, they generally hate it because Joker didn't act like Luigi. Allegedly. Both groups are proving the point better than I ever could.
And that brings us to 2022's The Batman. Surprise, bitch! Oh yeah, we're talking about The Batman. Not for no reason, though. You may or may not be shocked to find out that it's another angle on the same thing. But where the two Joker movies critique via depiction, asking us to observe, The Batman is far more direct. Arthur and Luigi become symbolic folk heroes because of how the content ecosystem reacts to their outbursts. But the Riddler, on the other hand, he goes a step further. He actively and successfully seeks to become a folk hero. The Riddler doesn't just end up as content. He knows that's what he is. He streams to an audience, solicits engagement from both them and from the Batman, and very intentionally curates a small, intense fandom. And the Riddler does it because he's in Batman's fandom. Batman, the symbol, inspired him to do all of that stuff.
At the start of The Batman, Bruce Wayne is telling us about the project. He's been keeping a journal of the last 2 years in which he has directed his resources and time to becoming the Batman, a masked vigilante out for the vengeance. Bruce wants to be a symbol of fear. A guy in Kevlar hockey pads,
I'm not wearing hockey pads,
beating people up can only be in one place at a time, so he's trying to be an idea, something criminals will imagine lurking in the shadows even when he's not there. Keeping with the theme, the bat signal isn't really for him, it's for them. So they'll look up at the sky and the Batman will be top of mind. It's branding. He's not fighting crime so much as he's marketing the idea of Batman.
The hell are you supposed to be?
I'm vengeance.
Get what you fucking deserve!
Bruce wants every criminal in Gotham to wonder if Batman's standing right behind him. Which means every fight, every brutal takedown, it's PR. It's content. And a man named Edward Nashton ate it up.
Edward Nashton saw a blueprint in all of this. But where Bruce wanted street thugs to shudder at the idea of him, Ed wanted the city's elites to know their corruption wasn't invisible anymore. The Riddler's project is the vengeance too, but not vengeance for murdered parents in an alley. For him, vengeance was about an orphanage, 30 kids to a room, no heat in the winter, rats crawling over your bed, babies dying every year because no one cared. And every news story, every campaign speech, every charity gala just rubbed it in. Gotham's richest people lived in towers while children starved in their shadow. Bruce and Edward, the Batman and the Riddler, had two different traumas and perspectives, but both are trying to universalize their pain through a symbol: vengeance. And like I said, Edward doesn't just stumble into being a symbol the way Arthur Fleck did, or get projected into one like Luigi Mangione. He chooses it. He builds it. He curates it. Where Bruce uses the bat signal in brutal street fights, Edward uses murder, riddles, and live streams. Neither project is just about acting. It's also about being watched.
Batman beats people up so they'll tell stories about him. Riddler live streams his murders. Batman terrifies criminals with a spotlight in the sky. Riddler terrifies Gotham with vertical video. Both of these guys are content creators. Watching them is consuming their product.
Consumption of things is unavoidable. It's an inherent part of life. But the mode of consumption is dictated by the world we live in, and the current mode makes the image of rebellion compatible with the very system it claims to resist. Again, Arthur Fleck is our clearest example. He kills 6 people, and then there's clown flash mobs. To Gotham's discontents, it looks like an uprising. To the audience seeing Joker in the theater, it feels like catharsis, but nothing fundamentally changes. In both the film's world and ours, Joker's riot doesn't start a revolution, it ignites a cycle of debate. Think pieces about white male rage, headlines discussing incels, a cultural proxy war that deliberately sidesteps issues like austerity, precarity, and class. Joker's violence transforms into content that is debated, memeified, commodified, and thus rendered safe. Luigi Mangione allegedly follows the same pattern. A man allegedly shoots a health insurance CEO, one of the most obvious villains in American capitalism, and immediately his story is flattened into a fandom fight, folk hero or terrorist, depending on your algorithm. But nobody spends more than 5 minutes talking about the system that made his grievances real, the for-profit healthcare model. Luigi's alleged act didn't trigger healthcare reform, it triggered a wave of op-eds and memes about Luigi. Just like with the Joker, the violence became content. The Riddler is much more intentional about being content. He doesn't just act and let the city react, he live streams, he brands, he builds a fandom that's interactive, participatory, and algorithm ready. His vengeance is designed to go viral, and it does.
You no longer need to be convinced that capitalism is good. You just need to be satisfied that you are right when you say that it's bad. But believe it or not, it's Bruce Wayne, the subject of a million terrible leftist video essays about how he's an evil billionaire fascist propaganda man who figures out that symbols suck and community solidarity rules.
Bruce starts out the movie believing the mask, the signal, and the symbol of fear will do the work for him. But by the end, he has to face the fact that symbols don't mean the same thing to everyone.
Who the hell are you? I'm vengeance.
His "I'm vengeance" line is repeated back to him by one of the Riddler's followers, demonstrating the symbol means an entirely different thing when seen through that person's eyes. Symbols cannot be assumed to deliver a single meaning, and they aren't under the control of the person wearing the mask. They're modified by whoever takes them in and repeats them back.
And then he posed? It looks cool in the photo, but it was really weird when he did it.
And given that the platforms, the endless screens, the posts, the engagement, the cable news, the reaction videos, everything between the original act and the consumption, all of this is owned by the ruling class. Given that, the intended meaning cannot be assumed to be transmitted.
You showed me all it takes is fear and a little focused violence. You inspired me. You're out of your goddamn mind. What?
Do you want to know what does mean the same thing to everyone? It's that no one has any damn control over anything going on. Everything is fucking crazy. And the people who own everything can just do whatever the hell they want. Who made them the boss? That feeling cuts across all ideology. Conservatives feel it, leftists feel it, and so does the 60% of Americans who are either independent and registered to vote or totally unregistered. Hell, the Penguin really gets it.
The good people of Crown Point, hard at work, right, protecting us. We're keeping this whole fucking thing quiet. We got the loyalty, and we got the love. You know why? Because we pay them.
You can dress it up however you want, call it crime, corruption, or injustice, but those of us who don't own everything understand what it means to live without power over our circumstances.
There is a material reason for this. In capitalism, what determines a person's place in the world is their relationship to production. If you draw the lines of power based on this, you have a material difference between the two sides.
This was my father's, but he made it off of your labor. You did the dirty work, and they kept it all for themselves.
This is class through the materialist lens. It is qualitative, that is, defined by characteristic, rather than quantitative, defined by numbers. The way we're taught to view class is numbers-based, specifically in terms of income. That might sound materialist because, we're all material girls living in a material world, but it's actually extremely relative. Firstly, money is not worth the same minute to minute. It's not tied to any specific commodity, so that movement isn't even dependent on the value of any one thing either. And it's not just the exchange rate, it's other dynamics such as inflation, which results from various factors including automation and banking. If we truly want to change society, we have to change the conditions for rule. Otherwise, we'll continue reproducing the same situation with different stated values and aesthetics. The simplified condition for rule at the fundamental level isn't what genitals you have, what your skin color is, or how much money is in your bank account. It's ownership.
I've never had a penis, and I'm still in charge. Buy, sell, yeah! Not so fast, Sergeant Skid Marks. I bought a majority stake in the company, now I own your bitch ass. Joke's on you, binary jabronis. I own the parent company, and I can be who I want to be. You can't do shit, I'm the boss, and you stink. Tax evasion.
This is, at least as long as we live in capitalism, probably the only actually universal line that can be drawn. This is true for all people, and how they perceive it, whether good or bad, doesn't change anything about it. So maybe that's a good place to start.
Searching for a magic symbol, getting the messaging right, finding the perfect story or aesthetic that finally lands is ultimately a foolish endeavor. It's not symbols that we need. We don't need the influencer, the symbol of the leader or revolutionary. We don't need the fandom, the symbol of community or movement. We don't need the content, the symbol of the action. These symbols are aesthetic, subjective, and relative. The Joker, the Riddler, the Batman, and the Luigi are all effects, not causes. They act inside a system that already knows how to cultivate despair and discontent into products and services. The Joker films aren't just stories about a person's collapse or a city that's fed up. They depict how substitutes for identity, community, and rebellion are manufactured as symbols, commodified images, ultimately products. The first film shows alienation as the basis for a popular consumable persona. The second represents the most plausible next chapter in that story. The events in the film are not retribution for people who liked the first film. They're the natural consequences following it. Calling the sequel a self-critique, either as a point for or against it, misses the point of the first movie entirely. Folie Deux is not Todd Phillips arguing with Joker 1's point, reception, or its fans. It's Todd Phillips continuing the conversation he started. That conversation isn't about superheroes and villains. It's about life and our world seen from the writer or artist's perspective. In fact, every superhero story is. Every story is. And no matter how much someone wants to make a story just about the source material is also like that. It's cliche to quote Oscar Wilde, but the guy said a ton of quotable shit, so sue me. In the preface for The Picture of Dorian Gray, Wilde wrote, "Every portrait that is painted with feeling is a portrait of the artist, not of the sitter." Thematically, the book explores how art reveals the feelings, contradictions, and truths that the artist represses, disguises, or cannot acknowledge or express in everyday life. But even if it was about the sitter, both the artist and the sitter live in the world, which has left its mark on each of them. Art is always about the artist and the world they live in. Both Joker movies and the Batman are made by people who take talking about contemporary life seriously. The only character that ever got it in the world of the films was Bruce Wayne, and I'm not completely sure he would have gotten it if that one henchman didn't say, "I'm vengeance," his own line back at him. But also, it's fiction, and the thing you're watching now is content, and I'm trying to persuade you to see things a little differently, which is ultimately not massively different from the other lunatics who make shit like this. The instinct to feel something real, to push back, to connect, that is not wrong. That's all normal human stuff. It's pro-social, good even, speaking relatively. However, without an understanding of the relationships between us and power, it just gets rerouted, fed back through algorithms and turned into noise. And there is nothing I can tell you that will change any of that. You can be hyper aware of how these mechanisms feed you lies and distract you, and it doesn't do a damn thing. It's good to get it, and I'm not telling you we wasted a bunch of time here if you got something out of this. I don't think we have, but getting it doesn't do anything on its own. What truly matters is the people around you, family, friends, community. Until we develop a natural understanding that when something happens to anyone, it affects all of us, we don't really have anything to fight for. That's why fandom, whether it's about Star Wars or queer theory or Donald Trump, works as a substitute for identity and community. It's because it lets us think we have achieved that when we haven't. We don't need our lives threatened, but we do need it to matter to everyone when things don't work out for someone. And I don't think that can be talked into existence. I don't think there's any set of information I can present to you that will make this happen. I think we just need to be around each other. We need to be interdependent. We need to be a society. We do not currently live in a society. Art isn't about what, it's about why. And that is why. Why is Arthur like this? Why do political assassinations happen? Why doesn't anything change after they happen? I hope this gives some ideas about that, but I'm not here to offer you solutions because I'm not an idealist. I'm here to suggest that it would be good to spend more time with your friends and family, to try to befriend your neighbors, to find stuff that's fun and interesting and pursue it. Try to improve your situation as well as the lives of people who are important to you. Ask people how they're doing. Make silly faces and sounds. Tell jokes. Open up. Build trust. The only way anything will ever matter is if your life matters, and so do the lives around you. And you don't get that from politics, political content, movements, online discourse, social media, organizations, whatever. You get it from being seen and seeing others. And I don't mean being visible. Arthur Fleck was visible. Luigi Mangione is visible. Being seen is different. It means having conversations, building rapport, caring. In a way, it means being needed and not in an unhealthy, codependent, fucked up way. And that might sound like touch grass, but I ask you not to think that way. Who do you love? Romantically, platonically, family. Who do you love? Go spend time with them. That's it. Oh, and give the second Joker movie a chance, eh? It's just the logical continuation of the first movie. I don't know why people expect it to be a green and purple blowjob. That doesn't make sense. My name is Peter Coffin, and this documentary has been very important.
Shut your ass up and let the juggalo sing. What is a juggalo? Let me think for a second. Oh, he gets butt naked and then he walks through the streets winking at the freaks with the 2-liter stuck in his butt cheeks. What is a juggalo? He just don't care. He might try to put a weave in his nut hair, cause he could give a fuck less what a bitch thinks. He tell her that her butt stinks and all that. What is a juggalo? He drinks like a fish and then he starts hugging people like a drunk bitch. Next thing he's picking fights with his best friends. Then he starts with the hugging again. What is a juggalo? A fucking lunatic. Somebody with a rope tied to his dick. Then he jumps out a 10-story window.